I'm speaking to you from a place I never thought I'd end up. And I wish someone had warned me about the signs I ignored. If you want to stay in control of your life and protect your independence as you age, please listen carefully. There are 5 small shifts that happen before a family makes a big decision. They don't look dangerous at first. They look like concern, like love, like protection. That's why they're easy to miss. I didn't see them clearly until I was already unpacking my clothes into a room that wasn't mine. My name is Walter. I'm 74 years old. I spent most of my life running a small hardware store in Ohio. 42 years behind that counter, I helped neighbors fix broken fences, leaking sinks, stubborn door hinges. People came to me for advice. I was the steady one. After my wife passed, things changed. The house grew quiet. My knees weren't what they used to be. I forgot a doctor's appointment once, burned a pan one evening, nothing major. But my children started watching more closely. At first, I felt cared for. Then I started feeling evaluated. That difference is subtle, but it matters. Looking back, I can now see 5 clear signs that decisions were being shaped around me, not with me. And the first one was so small, I almost laughed it off. The first sign was simple. Conversations started happening without me. At Sunday dinner, my daughter and son would step into the kitchen. Voices lowered, phones tilted away. When I walked in, the subject changed. I told myself I was imagining it. One evening, I heard my name, then silence. Later, my daughter smiled and said, "We're just trying to figure some things out." Figure what out? No one said. That's how it begins, not with a confrontation, not with a decision, just quiet-side conversations. At first, it feels harmless. Adult children coordinating schedules, comparing notes, being responsible. But when discussions about your life happen in rooms you're not invited into, something shifts. You stop being the decision maker. You become the topic. I didn't challenge it. I didn't want to seem defensive. I didn't want to look difficult. So I stayed quiet. And that was my mistake. Because when you don't ask to be included early, the plans grow without your voice in them. It wasn't cruelty. I know that now. They were worried. But worry, or when shared privately, can turn into action before you even know a problem is being solved. That was the first sign, and the second one felt even more reasonable, which made it harder to question. The second sign came wrapped in the word safety. Suddenly, small things became big concerns. That rug could make you trip. Are you sure you should still be driving at night? Did you forget your medication yesterday? Each question sounded caring. Individually, they were fair, but together they started forming a picture of me that I didn't recognize. I had one late bill, one missed appointment, one burnt pan. Normal human mistakes. But in their eyes, those moments became evidence. I started noticing something else. They weren't asking, "How can we help you stay independent?" They were asking, "Is it still safe for you to live alone?" That's a very different question. One looks for solutions, the other prepares for change. I tried to brush it off. I even laughed once and said, "I'm not falling apart yet." But inside, I felt something tightening. When your family starts assessing you like a risk instead of seeing you as capable, it slowly chips away at your confidence. And here's what I learned. When safety becomes the main topic of every conversation, independence quietly leaves the room. That was the second sign. The third one surprised me even more because it involved money. The third sign showed up in the form of financial questions. At first, it sounded responsible. "Dad, do you still have the mortgage paperwork? How much is in your savings these days? Do you have long-term care coverage?" Reasonable questions, but the timing changed. These weren't casual check-ins anymore. They were detailed, specific, written down. My son brought a folder one evening. My daughter opened a spreadsheet on her laptop. They said, "We just want to be prepared." Prepared for what? That word again? I had managed my own finances for 50 years, paid off a business loan, put 2 kids through college, built modest savings the slow, steady way. Now, I felt like I was presenting a report. I told myself they were being helpful. But I also felt something else. When conversations shift from "How are you doing?" to "What do you have?" it signals planning. Planning often comes before decisions. And decisions, once organized on paper, move quickly. It wasn't about greed. I want to be clear about that. It was about structure. Once finances enter the discussion, options get calculated. Comparisons get made, facilities get priced, and suddenly your life becomes a column in a budget. That realization unsettled me because the next sign made it clear the research phase had already begun. The fourth sign didn't come from a conversation, it came from a brochure. I found it on the kitchen counter one afternoon, a clean, glossy pamphlet with smiling seniors on the front. Bright rooms, garden paths, words like community and peace of mind. My daughter said, "Oh, that? We were just gathering information." Just information. Later that week, my son mentioned he had toured a place just to see what it was like. No commitment, they said, no decisions. But here's what I've learned. People don't tour places they aren't considering. Research means the idea has already moved from fear to possibility. And once a possibility feels reasonable, it becomes easier to justify. I started noticing small comments. They have great medical staff. You wouldn't have to worry about cooking. There's social activity every day. It was presented as an upgrade, a lifestyle improvement. But no one asked me what I wanted. That's when it truly settled in. The planning wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was practical, organized, calm, and that's what makes it powerful. Because when decisions are being researched quietly, the groundwork is already being laid. The fifth sign was the one that changed everything, and that's the one you must never ignore. The fifth sign wasn't about safety. It wasn't about money. It wasn't even about brochures. It was about tone. The questions slowly turned into statements. You shouldn't be alone anymore. We think this is best. It's time. Time. That word carries weight. I noticed something else. They weren't asking what I wanted. They were explaining what had already been decided, not cruelly, not angrily, calmly, organized. Like the conclusion had been reached somewhere else, and I was just now being informed. That was the moment I understood. The shift from helping to deciding had already happened. And here is what I wish I had done earlier. I should have spoken up at the first quiet conversation. I should have said, include me. I should have asked, what are you worried about specifically? When you stay silent to keep peace, you slowly give away your voice. And once your voice fades from the room, decisions move faster. If you are seeing even 2 of these signs, don't panic. But don't ignore them either. Call a family meeting, not defensive, not emotional, clear. Say, I want to plan with you, not be planned for. Because once the process moves too far ahead, it becomes very hard to reverse. A few weeks after that conversation, the decision became real. A room was available. "It's a good opportunity," my daughter said. "We don't want to lose the spot," my son added. Notice the language, opportunity, spot, timing. It all sounded logical. And I was tired of resisting. I didn't want to be difficult. I didn't want to be the stubborn old man who made everything harder. So I agreed. That's how it happened. Not with force, not with anger, but with pressure wrapped in concern. Now I sit here in a clean, quiet room. The staff is kind. The meals are fine. I am safe. But safety is not the same as ownership. If I could go back, I wouldn't fight my children. I would involve myself earlier. I would say, "Let's solve this together." Maybe that would have meant adding support at home. Maybe moving later. Maybe choosing differently. But it would have been my choice too. That's the lesson I want you to carry. If you notice private conversations, safety becoming the only topic, detailed financial planning, tours happening quietly, and decisions being presented instead of discussed, don't ignore it. Speak early. Stay calm. Claim your seat at the table. You are not a burden. You are not a problem to be managed. You are still the head of your own life. If this conversation gave you clarity or comfort, I invite you to subscribe and stay with us. We talk about things many families avoid, but that truly matters. And if you're seeing any of these signs in your own life, write a comment below. Your story may help someone else feel less alone. At this stage of life, courage doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it simply sounds like this: "Please include me."